you can't say black women are gods and like perpetuate misogyny, perpetuate colorism. The quicker you are to deify someone, make them into a god, make them into something supernatural, the faster you also demonize them. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit a soft spot in my heart, but my heart's cold, baby. I'm tired of hearing these things.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is nothing I can say but the feeling.
Hi, welcome to Mayowa's world. So my tripod is acting funny. So for some of this, I'm gonna be like crouching down so I'm in shot. But how's everyone doing? I'm doing well. I'm going to meet up with my friend very soon. So I really wanted to make a quick video because I have an issue sometimes where I feel like I have so much to say and I make really long videos when I genuinely want to make like a really quick video. So I'm pushing myself to make a really fast video this time so that I can see my friend and yeah. Hold on, I need to drink some water. Recently, I have like really been in my fantasy bag. You know what I'm saying? Like I have been so into this fictional book. I've never really been someone who enjoys fiction. I really love autobiographies, critical thought books. One of my favorite writers, who rest in peace to her, because this like makes me so sad because I really loved her work, was Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks was actually the reason that I started freeforming, because when I read this part of her book, which I'm like massively paraphrasing, but she was kind of making a comment about how like a lot of times black women constantly change themselves and constantly change themselves in hope of like people pleasing. And I realized that the relationship I had to my hair was like very much so me constantly changing up how I look in search of like validation. And I think, you know, allowing my hair, like my hair's always been this hair texture and it's always been this kinky, but I literally hid my hair for a majority of my life by wearing wigs or trying to manipulate the texture or extensions like braids or whatever. So I've always been hiding myself. So when I read All About Love, it really allowed me to like actualize myself and just kind of allow myself to be. I'm reading this really great book by Bell Hooks. And in there she says, males learn to lie as a way of obtaining power. And females not only do the same, but they also lie to pretend to be powerless. I'm very sad that Bell Hooks is no longer here. Like one of my goals was always to just like, I would love to have sat in on one of her talks or to meet her. She has these interviews up on the New School where they ask her like really amazing questions and she answers them with such a coolness. So if you haven't checked out like her interviews and stuff like that, check them out. Also, not to mention that she used to do these like critical reviews back in like the 80s or 90s where she would see like pop culture things and like make commentary. And that's like low-key what actually inspired me to make YouTube videos, because I found what she was doing to be so like important to like my learning and who I am as a person. So I'm very sad about Bell Hooks, but right now I'm in my fantasy bag and I'm reading books again, because I used to really love to read books like maybe like 3 years ago, and I don't know what changed, but maybe some traumatic experiences I went through. I just stopped reading for the most part. Like I haven't read a book in like a year or something like this, maybe less than a year. But I found a book that I really like, because the way I am is like if I find a book that I really like, I'm all over the book. I'm gonna show you. You guys probably know about this book because I feel like I'm kind of late, but okay, so if you have not, this book right here, this book is so good. It's called Children of Blood and Bones. Like it's a fantasy book, and I just kind of was like reflecting for myself, and I was like, I never really read so much fantasy, and I really like what it makes my brain do. Like it makes me feel really imaginative, and it makes me feel like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, like I was never really like into anime or like into like things that I think allow your brain to like go somewhere. And I feel like for me, the biggest disconnect is like I just never saw myself reflected. I've never seen a fantasy that like people kind of are supposed to be looking like me or come from my culture. So I really like that she's a black writer writing about dark-skinned people. And I was like thinking about how many books just don't have dark-skinned authors writing about dark-skinned people. If you guys have any book recommendations that's by dark-skinned writers writing about dark-skinned people, like write them in the comments, because I'm really trying to get in my book bag. Right now, you know what I'm saying, as you can tell by the looks, she's giving you fantasy, she's giving you fiction, she's giving you dreams. You get it? If you get it, forget about it. If you don't get it, forget about it. Anyway, today has nothing to do with what I just spent this intro talking about. I want to talk about the ways in which we pander to black women through lies. There's one thing I like exposing, it's lying, okay? But before any of that, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe. My name is Mayowa, which you guys, by the way, I got my necklace, can you see? And it has my name on it. Anyway, my name is Mayowa. I do a lot of discussions about anti-blackness, texturism, colorism, all the things that kind of fall into the category of anti-blackness. And I'm a very fun person. I feel like I talk about these things in a very, you know what I'm saying? I think I make it entertaining. I have a Patreon that I made a video yesterday, and I feel like my video was so long, so I might post it on my Patreon. But if you haven't joined Patreon and you're interested to get more content from me, you can do that. Today I want to like really unpack a lot. Also, wait, I forgot to mention I currently live in Nigeria, but I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. And after Atlanta, Georgia, I was living in like London, Germany, da 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 da. Anyway, I'm here in Lagos, and today we're going to be talking about pandering. Okay, so I saw this interview that who do I start with first? I saw this interview that Big Sean had done, and where he was talking about black women are gods. I'm gonna insert the clip.
I feel like, by the way, women are magical. You know what I'm saying? Black women, I feel like, are the closest thing to God. You know what I mean? Y'all be creating life, and it's funny how this doctor broke it down to me. He was like, we all come out of a black hole, just like how the universe was birthed. You know what I mean? And it's really deep when you get down to it to that level. So being around women, especially black women and talent like that, it's a pleasure for sure.
So I have a lot of thoughts about this, and this is something that I feel like I've seen my whole life, but I feel as if I'm at a time now where I have a different lens. And I think a lot of us have a different lens, because as I was reading the comments under this video, a lot of people were like, how can you say that when you literally don't date black women? Like, I think that was like the biggest comment that people were saying, is that Big Sean has notoriously not dated publicly black women. I find it really funny when people can say like black women are gods, but like they have nothing to do with black women. Another person that's in this category would be Nick Cannon, once again saying things like this.
And that's the systemic issues again, that for whatever reason we've been taught that light is right. We're drawn to the straight, even the idea of the straight hair, and you know the complexionism that goes on is, again, it's this hierarchy system there.
But then his dating preference looks like this.
And I will say it, but even like, I hate having to say this, but even like wilding out, I'm like, yo, find me some dark-skinned girls. Like, the fact that I have to say that.
So a lot of people say things like, oh my God, black women are gods, black women are superheroes, black women are our saviors. And I've really always felt very uncomfortable and hated sentiments like this, because one thing I've learned in my life living is the quicker you are to deify someone, make them into a god, make them into something supernatural, the faster you also demonize them. There's like a strong correlation between who we choose to make into gods and call godlike and our saviors, and when something goes wrong, when things doesn't go as expected, the ways in which we attack them and rip them apart is so severe. My own personal experience comes from like when I talk about colorism. When I talk about, okay, if I talk about racism, everyone is rallying behind me. You know what I'm saying? Racism, fuck racism, da da da, fuck anti-blackness, da da da, right? As soon as I switch gears and I start talking about colorism, I'm bitter, I'm angry, I'm mad by the same people who was rooting me on when I was calling out racism. And I think that I've just learned a lot that I can easily be very hated by the same people. A lot of times the people who really want to push you to the front and act as if you can be holier than thou or that you're perfect will be the same people that be watching for when you fall or be the reason that you have a downfall or the reason that you are demonized. And as like, yeah, dark-skinned people, I feel like a certain kind of relationship to knowing how fast and how easy, like we just feel very disposable. And when we're hot, we're only hot for a minute. That's why even too, when you take black celebrities, and even especially dark-skinned celebrities, but let's just take black celebrities, people who are phenotypically black, look black, okay, before you start trying to put in people who aren't in that category, people who don't benefit from light skin privilege. When you have them, I feel like the ways in which we are so quick to like tear them down when something goes wrong is like so fast. And also just people who don't fit like cis, hetero, skinny, light skin aesthetics. Like I remember how it was when Lizzo first came out, people were so down for Lizzo. And then I remember when Lizzo wore this like cute, I think she had worn some shorts and the butt was out. Suddenly everybody wants to have think pieces about what she's wearing when Rihanna or any of the other girlies was wearing the exact same thing. I feel like she's held to a hypercritical lens because she does not pass for anything but black. So when people say, oh yeah, black women are gods, it kind of lets me know that you can also think black women can be demons. Like it also lets me know like that the switch can happen at any point and like we'll never know when, you know? And I feel like there's like less forgiveness, less like we don't allow black women, black non-men to make mistakes the same way that we do any other ethnicity. I feel like if we get something wrong, like I feel like every black woman I know genuinely has this way of feeling like everything has to be perfect. Like everything has to be as close to good. Everything has to be as morally just. Everything has to be put together because I think subconsciously we know that if we let go of that, everything is gonna scatter. And I feel like when I hear men say things like, oh my God, black women are gods, black women are the most, okay, this is gonna be really controversial, but you know how Malcolm X said like black women are the most like oppressed, marginalized group or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like everyone quotes him for saying that, right? But when a black woman says that, she's not getting cheered on and paraded. I feel like the reason that we really, really listen to that sentiment from men is because of misogyny, is because of misogynoir. Like black women have been telling us in many ways that we're very, very oppressed, that our existences is very, very hard. But it's like when a man validates what we live through, then suddenly it's like the most incredible sentence in the whole world. Like you can't say black women are gods and like perpetuate misogyny, perpetuate colorism. You just can't. I don't need it personally. Like I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit a soft spot in my heart, but my heart's cold, baby. I'm tired of hearing these things. I don't believe y'all anymore. Like it's just you're saying that to garnish like and attention. Like my partner and I were talking about this concept of like black women being gods and stuff, and I just really hate that. And my partner was like, black women aren't gods. Let's say black women are iconic. That one, unnegotiable. Black women are icons, iconic. We have set the trends, we have moved the trends. We're doing things it's being stolen from. We've always, since the beginning of time, doesn't matter how long ago, we've always been the trendsetters. We've always been the moment. We are that girl. Every time, all the time, the innovation of black women, the innovation of black non-binary people, the innovation of black, where we are the moment. We are every moment of every moment. That one I can get down with, but I feel like when I think about the concept of being a god and like what that entails and what that holds, and like also too, a lot of us think of God and religion as like a really binary of like God and devil, heaven and hell. So that's, I think, also why the switch can happen, because I feel as if you're like lifting something up, and then the higher you lift it, the harder you fall. I also feel the same way when we have conversations around like black women being queens, Black women being like, yeah, queens and like this whole princess thing, because once again I think that the way we interpret king and queen, monarchy really is so linked to Eurocentricness. When we think of kings and queens, I think no matter how hard we try to separate our history, so many of our minds go to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, or we go to like the actual queen and king in England. Like, and I feel like yes, of course, in a lot of African traditions we have kings and queens, but I don't think it's existing in the same way. And something that I've just kind of also come to terms with is like a lot of these kings and queens was so comfortable selling people into slavery. A lot of these kings and queens were so comfortable doing really dodgy deals to like make money, that now are the people who are running for government here in Nigeria. Like a lot of people who come from kings and queens, like historically kings and queens have done some fucked up things. Not all of them, but a lot of them have done some really like sketchy detchy things, because when you have access to wealth and money, corruption. So like I've never really liked the word king or queen or whatever, like when people, and also too, like when people say that, for me, I get where they're coming from and I understand it, but it kind of goes into the same category of a god, because the same people that would be like, what up my empress, my queen, I've literally had someone be like, what up my empress, my queen, and I'm not talking to him, he's like, fuck you, you bitch. See what happened? Why we go from queen and then now a bitch? Like, why is them things? And I feel like it's really a thing, you know what I'm saying, because you see me as pure. And sometimes when I, especially someone who has locks, like if y'all have locks, like you know the ways in which like people put on this, you know, people think that you're very like nature, natural, you know, fuck the girls who wear the makeup, and I'm definitely not that girl, you know, especially because I used to literally be the girl with the 24-inch sleeves, da 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 da. I'm not the girl, but people sometimes think that I am, and so sometimes I feel like people really push queendom and will say things that will intentionally tear down other women in hopes of me feeling good. And my whole thing is like, if I'm a queen, like who am I ruling over? If I'm a queen, who's the peasant? Because we literally can't all be queens. When before like colonialism, if you want to argue it, we was 100% not all queens. I think it was like a select few of us was like very like, there's not that many. And also too, it was like if we was queens, it was like we was in a polygamous household, so we're one of 15. I don't want that lifestyle personally. Like I've never really been drawn into like that. That's never really been me. So queendom, I feel like it's kind of also etching into the whole God thing. And I remember when Monique was using like queenness to almost like shame women for not wearing bonnets, as if like we haven't been wearing things that protect our hair since the beginning of time, as if like that's just something that is a part of who we are. I'm happy that people are not really like falling for this whole like, oh yeah, we're gods, and I'm glad we're interrogating like how can you call us gods when like your dating preferences show different. Another thing that I also saw recently was what's his name, the fighter, Floyd Mayweather. He had said like in a video, like, you know, don't call good hair this, because if you call good hair this, then that's bad hair. Like my son doesn't have good hair, he just has hair. Like why hasn't your dating history shown you dating people with very kinky hair? Like this is all, once again, I feel like it only can go so far if I don't see you associated with, hanging out with, showing and uplifting people who have kinky nappy hair. It just doesn't hit me. So I'm curious to know, if you made it this far, like what's your relationship to like the word queen and empress, and like how do you feel about like hearing that, oh, you're a god, like as Black people, like how does it make you feel? And then my other question from the earlier point is like, if you know any dark-skinned writers writing about dark-skinned books, especially if you have any books and stuff that's fictional, fantasy, things that don't feel like so heavy about like something very depressing, then let me know, because I'm like very curious, and also we can all check the comments together. So hopefully this video like isn't very long and I can upload it very soon. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.